Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome back to session number 2 on GTN celebration of ASTA's Global Travel Advisor Day. We are live on the Facebook fan page for Gifted Travel Network. Welcome back to everyone. Thanks for coming. If you joined us on the first session at noon Eastern, if you did not have the opportunity to watch that, no worries. It's recorded. It lives in the video section of the fan page, so you can go back and enjoy it at your time. Right now, we are live for our second session titled The Return on Life. Redefining the purpose of travel. I am Shannon. I'm really fired up for this session. How about you?
Oh, me too. Me too. When I was typing up the description of it earlier this week, I just kept getting chills because we've always said it, we're in the best industry there is. And there's so much meaning to travel. However, now there's so much more. And I know this conversation is going to be heartfelt between our panelists and you and I, because there's so much passion between the 5 of us. And, it's so much more than just packing your bags and getting on a plane and taking a trip. There's so much more meaning behind it. We know advisors are valuable because we live in that space. I was an advisor for 20 plus years. You've been in the industry for how many years?
Something
A
years.
lot. Yeah. And so we know the value of it. We know that there is a lot to travel, and it's, there's so much more. And now everyone is seeing that. Not everyone, but a lot more people are seeing the meaning behind travel, the depth of what travel advisors can do and how they can make a difference in their lives. So I'm super excited about today's session, about redefining the purpose of travel and talking about the true meaning and how it can change people's lives and how travel advisors are doing that. And that's why we're here today, to celebrate these travel advisors and to celebrate all of the things that they have been doing, not only this year, but in the past couple of years, and even before that, and what they're going to be doing in the years to come and how they are making a difference. So
their role in people's lives as travel planners and travel advisors matter. Travel advisors watching what you do, you can't put a price tag on it. And the memories that your clients experience, the families that you send to reconnect after having not seen each other in some cases 2 years, it is beyond important. It is what we live for. It's life. And it is the return on life. Yes, Danielle Dieback, thank you. Yes, time is precious. It's an honor to help people live their best life again. I love that. So on that note, Shannon, let's go ahead and bring our amazing panelists and guests for this session. We've got a great conversation.
I'm going to bring them up. Oh, bear with me one second. There we go. And let me do a little bit of rearranging because I want the 3 of them to be spotlighted together.
Love that.
And yes, let me tell you about our guest. And we're super excited to have these 3 panelists. We have Mr. Matthew Upchurch, Virtuoso's chairman and CEO. We have Lisa Reich of Majestic Getaway. And we have Mary Jennifer Markham of MMarkham Travel. So thank you so much for being here with us. We are so excited that you're here today.
It's going to be a great conversation. And I'd like to get us started with asking Matthew to tell us a little bit about the session title, because I'll be honest, this session title, The Return on Life, was actually inspired by Matthew, because Matthew was our guest during our recent cohort call for our new to industry training program. He was our guest speaker for Travel MBA graduates. And he talked about the return on life, and he just sort of shared his thoughts on what that was. And it was really powerful and really meaningful. And when we were thinking about session titles, that immediately clicked for Shannon and I. Just that title, I had written it down and I had really sat with it, because that's really what we do here. So Matthew, I'd love to kick it to you first to sort of just talk about what that means to you and how Virtuoso sort of lives and breathes that within its culture.
Well, thank you. And when you send me this invitation, there's nothing I love to do the more than talk about this particular subject, but also just really privileged and excited to be here. Happy Global Travel Advisor Day. We started calling our professionals travel advisors back in 2001. So we know that was the case So for me, this was an easy invite. I get so much energy talking about this because my life has had return on life because I have been involved with travel advisors for the last 35 years of my life. So the inspiration around this is the fact that I've always said, I'll start off with something that I think I'm going to try to give you some like tweetable things here. I've always said, if you're a travel advisor and you say you book travel, you've lost before you started, because there are 1,000 ways of booking travel, and there will be 1,000 more ways of booking travel. So one of my mentors is Simon Sinek. He always says, start with why. And what I like to do is the time that I was able to be on the Today Show with Ann Curry, it was the first time I ever used this term publicly. And I literally said, if you think about this, why would somebody have a financial advisor in their life to have a conscious plan to optimize their money, but not have a collaborator in their life to optimize their most valuable non-renewable asset, their free leisure time? If you lose money, you can make it back, but you can never make back that time.
So true.
So the reality is, return on life is what you as travel advisors are really in the business of, right? And you're able to do that because you add value before the trip, during the trip, and after the trip. And it's that holistic approach to helping somebody's life be enriched through travel that is the thing that makes you and your profession so incredibly valuable in people's lives. And of course, the pandemic has done nothing but accelerate that meaning.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Shannon, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah. So, just talking about that why, that's what I want to know from Lisa and Mary Jennifer. Is the why different now? Is the why different to be a travel advisor, or is your why as your role as a travel advisor, has it changed? Like Lisa, I know you sell family travel, and that has been specifically amplified since the pandemic. Can you tell us about your why, and if the trips for your families that are taken now, is it a different experience, or are they deepened by this?
Okay. Yes. Hi. Let me talk a little bit about family travel and what family travel post-pandemic means. I'm going to just start with a little story. 2 years ago, 2020, pandemic starts, and I've got 3 little kids. I've got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I've got a husband also. We're kind of going crazy. I've got a business. We're losing everything. And, I'm exhausted. And I get a call one day from my sister, who is single, living alone, working home, completely opposite experience. And she calls and tells me, Lisa, I haven't had a hug in so many weeks. And at first I wanted to kill her. I wanted to kill her because I hadn't had a single minute to be alone in months and months. And I think I must have hung up on her, right? Right, Vanessa? Why are you telling me you haven't, had interaction? Okay, so it took 2 years of the pandemic, of lockdowns, of everything we've experienced to understand what family travel really is. Family travel today is not necessarily about getting in the car for spring break, for summer break, going with your kids on an airplane. It's now about seeing your parents, who you may not have seen in the last 2 years, taking that multi-generational bucket list trip that you have waited so many years to take, and you're realizing, wait a minute, we might not have time to do this again. It's realizing your high school senior, where did the last 2 years go? He only has one more summer with us. We need to do something as a family. It's about being alone. It's about my sanity. I need to go back on that girls' trip. I need to go travel alone away from my family. Right? There is so much more to family travel. Sometimes it's not just about traveling with the family. It's about traveling without the family or with your spouse. So really, family travel has amplified because I think people are calling now, not even realizing, what they need. They're getting new destinations. They're calling me up. I was watching a show over the pandemic. Where is Yellowstone? What is this place? People are learning, and they're wanting to experience what they have spent the last 2 years watching and reading about. So really, family travel is amplified completely. It's just so broad right now.
That's awesome. That's so touching. I love that story.
Sorry. And And you're walking the walk here, Lisa, because you're in our top producers club from 2021, and you have just had record sales in the first quarter with Family Travels just calling. You're over $1 million in sales before the quarter even ended. And I mean, congratulations on all your momentum. So we celebrate you today, and that's pretty incredible. So families are traveling.
Lisa, I have a quick question. I know we said one of the things that I love about hearing this is that we remember I said earlier, don't say you're in the business of booking travel, right?
Yes.
So another way I say it is you're not in the dates, rates, and space business. And one of the things that you probably do, I would love to ask you is, one of the things I've seen that successful advisors do is the very first thing they do is tell me how you want to feel. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you want to accomplish. Then we'll worry about dates, rates, and space, right?
Yes. That's the difference between a travel advisor and, booking something online and being an agent. It's very different. Sometimes we're therapists. Sometimes we're listening to their problems and we're trying to, find solutions and how to make them, we get a lot.
Yeah, that's very touching. Yep. It's all about the feeling. And Mary Jennifer, so you're coming into this industry pretty new. You just joined our March Travel MBA cohort. So congratulations and happy first Global Travel Advisor Day. But I want you to share with us, what is your why to being in this travel industry and being a travel advisor?
Thank you, Shannon. So I think, like so many travel advisors and people in this business, really just enjoyed planning travel. That was something I always loved to do for myself and my family and friends. But I am, as most of you know, an oncologist, actually on the side, or actually I should say 24/7, I'm an oncologist. And when the pandemic started, I think that the importance of making time to be with people you love just became so highlighted in my life. It is in my day-to-day practice, I hear a lot, obviously, about regrets, and specifically what I have heard over the years is, regrets for things not done. And that typically involves making memories with people that someone loves, with friends or with family. And when the time is gone, that time is really gone. You can't go back. When the pandemic started, not only did I have trips canceled, but I have had patients whose trips were canceled. And it became very evident that it was life-changing for everyone in numerous ways, but there were a lot of people that I was caring for that now would never be able to take that time away to be with their families in a travel experience. And I think we all know that when you travel, the experience is just so meaningful because you are away from work, you're away from the typical obligations of daily life, and you are really able to just dive deep with those people that you care about and make some pretty profound memories. So when everything shut down, I realized that I really wanted to serve, not just in my medical practice, but I wanted to serve in helping people of all types really make just that time that they have away, however limited it may be, just completely filled with what they needed to get out of the experience. And so I am one of the weirdos who became a travel advisor in the middle of the pandemic, but I have to say it is the most rewarding. I had a client that was messaging photos from her solo trip to Paris recently, and the feeling I got having made that experience possible for her, it was very profound. It's in my medical practice, I love when I can help extend someone's life. In this travel business, not only I can't extend someone's life in the travel business, that would be amazing, but helping them really get what they need from an experience
return on
like
life.
that. Yeah. Yes, it's very profound, and I'm grateful to be here.
We're grateful for you, and you're enriching their lives through what you're doing in both of your careers. And we thank you for that.
It's such an inspiring story, Mary Jennifer. Really, it's such an honor to have you in the GTN community and to share that. I know, and you're also an inspiration. The fact that you booked immediately, like you joined the travel, you hit the ground running right away. I see you on that new booking report I get every week. I'm like, there she goes. I think you just came back right from a trip to New Orleans with a group of female oncologists that you planned, and you sent a nice trip to Spain. I mean, you're doing it. It's happening.
I think we're all just itching to get out there. And I do work with a lot of physician clients. And I think, the medical industry has also been hit very hard in the pandemic. And so there is just this, I feel like I can help so many people. It's really fun.
That is.
Wow.
That is. Thank you. Matthew, let me ask you something. Do you think the meaning of travel has changed, obviously, with the consumers, but how do you think the consumers are now seeing travel advisors? Do you think that lens has changed?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I kept saying throughout the pandemic is that disruptions accelerate trends, whether to the upside or to the downside. Just to give you a real quick example, it took a decade to do a 10% penetration of digital usage. Then it took a year. And then it took the first 6 weeks of the pandemic. That's how fast digitalization happened during a disruption, right? So the reality is the reframing of our profession as travel advisors, which we started talking about in 2001, was this kind of trajectory. Then just a little bit of an interesting thing is that, and then two things happened in 2007. Mobility, the ability to work from anywhere, and social media. That untethered the profession from the desk, and it created an amplification vehicle that leveled the playing field with big organizations, right? Big marketing organizations, whatever. So that fundamentally changed the business, and more people started to realize that the real job of an advisor was not the booking of travel, but the holistic nature of it's not just what I know, but who I know. It's the fact that the quality of my relationships and my community have a direct impact on the quality of your travel, and so on and so forth. And that a learning relationship with a great advisor actually was one of the best emotional investments that you could make. Because if I debrief, and just as, since we're sitting here, for 15 years, we've done a study every 5 years. The number one thing that consumers, travelers tell us differentiates a transactional travel agent from a trusted travel advisor is the quality of the debrief, understanding what could be better, and then taking that information, and then it becomes a learning relationship. So it makes you stickier, right? Stickier and more valuable. So that's that. But I think what's also happened is, Lisa, we're talking about family travel. The first major turbocharge of family travel was 9/11. Right after 9/11, we saw a massive growth in multi-generational travel. We also have something else that's going on, which is the longevity revolution. So when the last baby boomer turns 60 in 2024, it will be the first generation in the history of the planet where 80% of the generation is expected to live another generation, which is roughly 20 to 25 years. We've always had 80-year-olds. We've just never had this many. And 80% of those in relative health compared to any other previous generation. When you think about, Mary Jennifer, I was talking to one of our doctor friends last night, when you look at the advancement of therapeutics and this, whatever, it's incredible. So you've got this thing where the older people are healthier, living longer. The younger people have accelerated a trend, which is the expenditure on experiences rather than goods. And so you have, for the first time in the history of the planet, 6 generations of people all traveling at the same time in numbers we've never seen. One of my favorite trends here is this whole thing about skip gen, right? So you have multi-gen, but skip gen is where the grandparents take the grandkids and leave the parents behind, right? So that's a huge growth industry too. But I think that overall, for the exact same reasons of what Mary Jennifer said is like, the role of travel in people's lives, the fact that making memories, that when you ask your kids when they're adults, what do you remember about the holidays, whatever, it's almost always trips and experiences. So I think that this type of a this type of a shutdown adds to that. And I think and that's why it's important. But I will say one other thing real quick. Return on life is also your right. So one thing that I've been saying throughout the pandemic is you also have the right to deal with clients that respect you.
So true.
Right? So I've been saying this for at least a year now. There has never been a better time to be very clear about your boundaries. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. Doesn't mean that it'll ever, but be very clear about, because you have two things to offer: your knowledge and your work and your life energy. So don't allow life energy vampires into your practice.
Those are very, very powerful, important words that I know many of our members know, but really needed to hear again today and need to be reminded about on a regular basis, especially Lisa. I know this is a common conversation that we're hearing all the time in our Top Producers Club at Gifted Travel Network. And it's, the boundary conversation. And so many advisors right now, unfortunately, don't have any. And it is just a really important conversation that I think as an industry, we continue to bring up to the forefront and have at travel industry events and, on focus groups and committee calls. I think we have to put our well-being at the forefront. And that is something that I have attempted to prioritize during the pandemic. And it is definitely a mental muscle that I continue to exercise, to be intentional about. And that is definitely something that is important here. Matthew, I loved what you said about, I've never heard that term before, longevity revolution. That was cool. I liked that. I love the way you framed that. Lisa, I wanted to kick it to you to give a little inspiration for our viewers here about give us like a really cool trip, like a family travel experience that you've curated. Maybe they haven't gone yet, or maybe they just came back. But what's like something really amazing that you put together recently?
I think we're going to go with the Vanessa. You know this story well. You're a participant in part of the story. I have a bit of a story that actually was featured last month in Virtuoso Life publication.
That's right.
So it was very exciting. So last fall, I received a call from a new client. She was a referral. She calls me up, Lisa, I need your help with something. I need grandbabies. So she tells me, need grandbabies. Okay. You need to help me. My son has just spent the pandemic, living with his girlfriend, and he needs to propose to her. And you know what? I'm going to make this happen. We are going to make a plan and how he's going to propose to her, and he's going to do it. Okay. All right. You get some interesting requests every so often. Okay. Let's do this. So I was just off of a FAM. I was actually there with Vanessa and another GTN advisor. We were on a Royal Caribbean cruise, and we were actually visiting.
It was one of their test sailings.
Yes, that's right. It was not a FAM. It was a test sailing. It was in July.
And we were so happy to test the over-the-water bungalow.
And that's where the story is going. So exactly. So we were in their new over-the-water bungalow, and we just had the most spectacular day together. So, it was just the view, the service, everything. It couldn't have been beat. So my mind, when she tells me this is what we need, and we're not just going to have, him propose to her. I'm going to be there, and we're going to take his sister and his brother, and we're all going to go with the family. So where can we go in 3 weeks, where he can propose? So my mind goes automatically, this is what you're going to do. We have this over the water bungalow. I just experienced it. And I'm going to just pause there and tell you, agents, travel advisors, please experience as much as you can experience, put yourself where your clients are going to be, because the perspective is so different when you have done it yourself. So I shoot back to my memory of doing this experience, and I say, okay, we're going to arrange a photographer. We're going to arrange a cruise. We're going to get some flowers there. We're going to do everything, and you are going to surprise her on, in this over the water bungalow, and you're going to be with all of your family. You're going to be there with your grandparents and your parents, and it's going to be an amazing event. So we've already, we've passed that. They had the best time. We've planned now their bachelor party, and now I'm actually planning their baby moon. So, it was very, very cool. We're talking about the circle of life. It was
So
great.
her plan worked. She's just back there rubbing her hands, going, ha ha ha! Here comes my grandbaby. I'm about to
And
take
she's the
notes
one
from
that
this
called
woman.
me to plan the honeymoon. But she planned the honeymoon with me. She planned about, you know what? It's whatever works.
Story. I love the tie-in here with That's right. The story was featured in Virtuoso Life last month. That was really cool to see that. It was good to be a participant in that. And I love how it all started with, the famous industry phrase of to know is to go, and you went and you experienced it and you were posting. Jamie, I see Jamie Paul on here. She was with us too that day. Hi, Jamie, in the Overwater Bungalow. And the three of us were just Facebook living and posting all day long because we could not believe where we were. It was just so wonderful. And both advisors got clients from that. So that was really fantastic and great bookings from that. So, and Royal Caribbean is a fantastic partner to travel advisors. How about a big shout out to Royal Caribbean for being an amazing partner to travel advisors. So thank you, Royal Caribbean. And Mary, Jennifer, tell us thank you, Lisa. Tell us about what you're looking forward to most in your career as a travel advisor. You're on this, you're hearing what Matthew's saying, you're listening to Lisa Reich's story. I know you've really engaged with a lot of different points of, events that we've done here at GTN. So you've been hearing the stories of what's possible, right, for your travel business. Now that you've got a few months under your belt now, or is it been a few months, maybe 2 months?
She's been, with us. She's been in it a little while.
Yeah.
That's true. Tell us, what are you looking forward to most in terms of the context of return on life? Maybe is it a trip? Is it an experience? What excites you?
Oh gosh, everything excites me. And I think this is the dilemma of being a new advisor is I've planned I've planned some travel. I would like to plan much more travel, but I haven't had a lot of clients return back from their trips yet. And the ones that I have had, it has just brought me so much joy to hear about their amazing experience and know that I was able to get them in that place and in that beautiful hotel or on that guided tour. And so I really am looking forward to all of my clients traveling so that I can hear about their amazing trips. All of it, really all of it. I think the community with GTN has just been so embracing and welcoming and supportive. And I came to GTN from another host agency, and it's a very different environment and incredibly supportive. I am a relatively smart person. I can figure things out, but this is not, anything new is a challenge. And I have loved feeling challenged. But I've also loved knowing that even though I feel challenged some days, I know who to go to when I need some guidance or some support. And so I'm just keeping an open mind and really thrilled about where things are headed.
I can't wait to see those Virtuoso reviews on your profile when your clients return. That's something very exciting to look forward to. And thanks for joining us on your very first Travel Advisor Day on this Facebook Live. It's great to have you and have your perspective on this Facebook Live.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I know Shannon has a final question for everybody. I want to just quickly jump in as we're getting to the end of the 30 minutes. For all of our viewers that are watching, we've got a great little viewership audience. I was going to say viewership. Don't know if that's a word, but I like to make things up. So audience. So if you are watching this live and you want to ask Matthew a question, or Mary Jennifer or Lisa, you have a comment, or maybe there's something that they said that really struck you. I know a few of you have left comments already. Go ahead and drop a comment here for us and let us know what you're taking away from this conversation. We really enjoy this live audience. It's been great.
It has. It's been wonderful. And just one last real quick question for the three of you. Just tell us, what is your purpose? What does the travel purpose means to you right now, today? What is it in your perspective? Matthew, we'll start with you.
Sure. I operate Virtuoso off of a framework. I'm a big believer that a lot of people think that frameworks are limiting. I believe that solid frameworks actually make you more creative. So I run Virtuoso off of a book called The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, and it asks you the 6 critical questions. And the very first one is, what is your greater purpose? So at Virtuoso, this is an easy one for me to talk about. Our greater purpose is enriching lives through human connection. And so that's, to me, that is at the core of everything we do. One other little quick tidbit. both for Mary Jennifer and for all advisors. One of the things about Virtuoso and Gifted Travel Network that I love is that our ethos is we share our ethos. There's more to be gained by sharing than there is to keeping to yourself. And I love the fact that we do that. So one very practical tip about people coming back from trips, when you debrief, you will run into people with different types of personalities. You'll ask somebody, well, how was your trip? How was your trip is not really the best question, because you'll have certain types. Like if you talk to our British advisors, hardly any Brit will ever tell you how their trip was. It was fine, right? So here's the practical question. If there's one thing you could change about that trip, what would it be? That's a much more specific, inviting question, and it opens up the discussion in a very non-threatening way, and it's very good. So that's my little tip on debriefing.
That's a great tip. A great tip.
Mary Jennifer?
So I think I agree that the meaning of travel to me has been, and this is what I try to do for my clients, is really making connections wherever they are. I don't like just being a tourist in a place. I like the experience of getting to know a culture. And I think that we all benefit through our really broadened awareness that even though we may have a different culture, different religion, different skin color, different heritage, we really are actually so much alike in the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis, where our need to be hugged and to have someone to love us, and to find comfort in the place we sleep at night, and to share a meal with someone. And that's really what I try to do when I travel, and what I hope to impart to clients is that travel is really about those broader and deeper and more meaningful experiences within that location, even if it's just to a place on a Mexican beach. I think you can still really get a sense of the culture there if you leave a resort periodically, right? So that's I think the most important part of travel to me.
Even within the resort, right? I love talking to everybody wherever I'm going. I just love to hear their story, how long they've been there. Tell me about your family. I'm such a chatty Cathy with everybody that works there. My husband's always like, stop talking. But I'm really a curious person in general. So it doesn't really matter what the type of trip, right? There's always something to learn. I love
that's exactly right. In New Orleans this past weekend, I loved getting to talk to the Uber drivers about their experience living in New Orleans, and what it's like with tourists coming back, and what's their favorite restaurant. So I completely agree.
It's what Matthew showed us, right? In your office before we went live. Ask questions. That's what it's all about. Yes. Lisa.
So for me, I often like to take my laptop and work out of a coffee shop. And doing that, you overhear conversations. Rarely a day you don't overhear a conversation between people that they're not talking about travel. All the time they come in, they say, where is your next trip? Where are you going next week? What have I just done? What have I experienced? And I think that travel is a way to get people out of our mundane day-to-day life. It's something that we can plan, something that we can look forward to. I mean, I know for me, when I don't have something, to work for and look forward to, it's a little bit sad. I think that, travel is so important to just get us through each day, especially after the pandemic, when we just did not have that.
So true. And you're right. There's the hot topic right now, and just general conversations. I hear it too, just when you're out and about in the world, is really about travel right now. It's where it's at, which is why there's never been a better time to be a travel advisor. And so I know there was a question here from Angie. She wanted to hear about elevator pitches to clients, about why use a travel advisor. And you know what? That is an excellent topic that will be covered during our 2-hour How to Become a Luxury Travel Advisor presentation that Shannon is driving on Friday from 12 to 2. So if you're watching our Facebook Live celebrations and you're like, man, I want this profession, this is the time, I'm going to do it, and you want a deep dive into how to become a travel advisor, you can go ahead and join us by signing up at gtnwebinar.com. You'll get an invite, and Shannon will see you on that presentation on Friday from 12 to 2. So go ahead and sign up. And GTN members, friendly reminder, we have kicked off our fundraising campaign for ASTA. Today is ASTA's Global Travel Advisor Day. We love ASTA. We honor ASTA. And to honor ourselves and our profession, we ask that you make a minimum $25 donation to ASTA Pack on the GTN team page. That's the link. We'll drop it in the comment to celebrate Global Travel Advisor Day. We've already gotten up to close to $1,500 after the first now 2 sessions. So thank you all GTN members that are contributing to this amazing cause. So Shannon, I think we'll wrap it up, right?
Yes, thank you all 3 of you so much for your time today, for celebrating Global Travel Advisor Day. Global, the whole wide world is celebrating travel advisors today, and especially here at Gifted Travel Network, we honor you. We thank you. Matthew, thank you for what you do. Mary, Jennifer, Lisa, thank you so much for the things that you're doing and the differences you're making.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Be back here at 5 o'clock for the next session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.